the main thing we're talking about today is the flyover over Basham Circle, the Sankey Flyover Project. So we are looking at the flyover starting from that junction, from the Kaveri side, going all across and landing on number 1. That's the point of landing on the Tank Bund Road. And the widening will happen till 2. We are unclear about this junction. So thank you everyone for being here. I'm handing over the mic now to Prakash. Thank you.
You want to stand on that side, sir, or here? ಎಲ್ಲ ನಾಗರಿಕ ಬಂಧುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬೃಹತ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಮಹಾನಗರ ಪಾಲಿಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಘನ ಸರ್ಕಾರದಿಂದ ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ನಗರ ಏನಕ್ಕೆ ಫೇಮಸ್ಸಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಆಚೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾತಾಡೋರು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ. ಈಗ ಯಾಕಾಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ, ಮುಖ್ಯ ರಸ್ತೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಹನ ದಟ್ಟಣೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆದಾಗ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಉಪಾಯ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ರಸ್ತೆ ಮೇಲೆ ರಸ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಒಂದು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಈ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಚಾರ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಈ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಫ್ರೀ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಫ್ರೀ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೇನು? ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಅಟ್ ದ ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಅವರ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಯಾರಿಟಿವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ತಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸುತ್ತೆ, ಹೌದು, ಫ್ರೀ ಫ್ಲೋ ಆಫ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು, ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಜೆಷನ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಡ್ರಾಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಈ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಹನಗಳು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್, ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಪೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಹೈ. ಈ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಹೋಗುವಂಥದ್ದು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂತಲೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಮನುಷ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಂತ, ಈ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಆದ ಅರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಅಥವಾ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೊರಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ, ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ನಾವು ಫಾಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೋಗೋದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಟ್ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ವೆರಿ ಹೈ. ಆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ರನ್ ಮಾಡಿಪ್ಪ. ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ ವೆಹಿಕಲ್ಗಳು, ಯಾಕೆ ಪೈಲಪ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಅವಕ್ಕೆ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಕಂಜೆಷನ್ ಅಂತ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ 2 ರೀತಿ ಇದೆ. ಒಂದು ಇಂಜಿನಿಯರಿಂಗ್ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ನು, ಒಂದು ಎನ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ನು ಆಗಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇವೆರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಸಸ್ಟೈನಬಲ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಈ ವೈಡ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಕಾರ್ಯದ ಜೊತೆ ಇದು ಆದರೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮುಂದೆ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಈ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ಗೆ ಅನುಮೋದನೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಇದರದ್ದು ಲೆಂತ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇದರ ಲೆಂತು 1.50 ಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಎ ವೆರಿ ನ್ಯಾರೋ ರೋಡ್. ಇದು ನೋಡಿ, ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ 30 ಮೀಟರ್ ರಸ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತನೂ ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಎಷ್ಟಡಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂದರೆ 12 ಮೀಟರ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಲೆಸ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ 50% ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಟೋಟಲ್ ವಿಡ್ತ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎನ್ವಿಸೇಜ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ RMP. ಏನು ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, ಒನ್ ವೇ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು, ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ಲು ಫೇಲ್ಯೂರ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೇನಾದರೂ ರೋಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಸಿಗ್ನಲ್ ಹಾಕೋದು, ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಇಂಟರ್ಸೆಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿರೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇದು ಜಿಯೋ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟಡೀಸು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇದು ಟರ್ನಿಂಗ್, ಇದು ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿರೋವಂಥದ್ದು. ಇದರೊಳಗೆ ಒಂದು ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೀಕ್ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಂತೆ. 10,000 PCU ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಸಪ್ರೇಟರ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಲೆವೆಲಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ವರ್ಕು. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ವೀಡಿಯೋನು ಮಾಡಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ವೀಡಿಯೋ ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದೊಂದು ವೀಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡಪ್ಪ. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಟೈಮು ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿದೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಮಾಸ್ಟ್ರು ಫಸ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ 1 ನಿಮಿಷನೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ನಾನು 1 ನಿಮಿಷ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ತೊಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬರ್ತೀನಿ. ತಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟು 20 ನಿಮಿಷ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Thanks, citizens for Sankey, for inviting me. You know, a few days back I was communicating with Prakash to discuss about this event, and I just told him that, you know, it's almost 6.5 years and you have come back a full circle, you know, back to square one. It's exactly, you know, similar kind of setting in Rotary Club in Levely Road when CFB had organized this whole meeting to discuss about the steel flyover. That time also I came there. It was same Prakash who was moderating the event, and I talked about the same you know, philosophy and same arguments, technical arguments about why flyover doesn't work. And it just feels like from CFB to CFS we are actually back to square one. It seems, you know, our civic authorities have not really changed their way of thinking or not learned from what they have done and what results they have got. So let me take you through. I would like to begin with few hypotheses. And at the end of the presentation, I'll put back these hypotheses again for you guys to answer these hypotheses whether they are correct or not. My first hypothesis is flyovers do not solve traffic congestion, rather they only shift the point of traffic congestion. Second hypothesis is flyovers follow a vehicle-centric approach and not people-centric approach, which is opposite to the core principles of our national urban transport policy, which says focus on moving people rather than vehicles. Issues, travel time delays, as you rightly pointed out, traffic congestion. I think all of us agree that these are real problems and we need solutions. You know, on that we are on, you know, same page as Mr. Prahladha. So we'll look at what core principles we should follow. Then we'll go to some basic analysis that we did, looking at the DPR that the BBMP has prepared about the Sankey Road Flyover and widening, particularly with respect to its traffic congestion mitigation potential. And I would really like to dig into what Mr. Prahladha said, long-term solutions. So we'd really like to understand how long these flyovers are as a long-term solutions. What is a typical urban transportation planning process which a civic agency should follow, a technical agency should follow? It starts with defining the goals and objectives and setting criteria how we will achieve those goals and objectives. We first do the inventory of the present condition. Yeah? Then try to forecast these traffic flows, see in future how much they are going to increase, then develop alternative plans. They need to be first evaluated and tested holistically and with scientific criteria, and then come up with these alternative plans, test them, evaluate them, take public inputs, etc. Then only prepare DPR. In all these cases, whether it is the elevated corridor, you know, DPR, or the steel flyover DPR, or any other DPRs that government has been preparing, they have been completely neglecting this whole process. Now you also need to understand the global and you know, national picture, where we are globally in terms of our economic development, car ownership level, and so on. This is a very interesting graph to understand that. On y-axis you have GDP per capita, and on x-axis you have cars owned per 1,000 population. Okay. Now if you look at saturated economies, the rich countries like US, Australia, Germany, Japan, etc., historically as they have developed economically on their GDP per capita, this is the S-shaped curve, is what they have followed in terms of how their car ownership per 1,000 population has grown. And it tends to get saturated anywhere between 600 to 800 cars per 1,000 population. Today US you know, GDP is anywhere around $60,000 per capita. What is the India's GDP? It's hardly $2,000 per capita. So we are not even born on this curve. We are literally at the doorstep. How much is our car ownership on an average for India? Any idea? 25 cars per 1,000 population. It's nowhere where US is. If you look at Bangalore, it's somewhere around 150 cars per 1,000 population roughly today. What this means, any new road space, any new road infrastructure that you would create would get filled in no time, because we have nowhere reached the saturation level of car ownership. Can we really afford, from today's situation, even when such externality is there with low car ownership, to reach anywhere near 600, 700 cars per? What will happen to our cities? Can we really afford that? So this global picture we have to keep in mind. So any road infrastructure that you will create will get filled in no time. This is exactly what is happening with all these road infrastructure interventions. So the challenge is, if we can be really wiser, we can do something different. Can we saturate at much lower level of car ownership? Okay, this is where our good future lies. We did an estimate from our models. A car occupies about 38 times more space to carry one passenger compared to bus, and a two-wheeler 4.8 times. In spite of this, bus is taking a lion's share of 40% trips. No matter how much of road space you create, you cannot accommodate these many vehicles. They'll get filled in no time. We put public pressure, give us road capacity. We have been aspiring society. They will go and give you more space, because that's what, they think that fetches vote. It has resulted in huge urban sprawl of Bengaluru. You are now spending almost similar time, but traveling much longer. Now, it's a simple equation. If you have more distance to travel, your fuel consumption will also be more, and your tailpipe emissions would also be more. So essentially what you're doing is, you're increasing your cumulative network level emissions as well as fuel consumption by putting these kind of road infrastructure projects. How do you come out of this vicious circle? Bring policies to discourage car ownership as well as usage. Infuse more infrastructure of sustainable modes. Provide priority to the movement of these sustainable modes. Bring land use strategies so that people can live closer to where they work. This whole bottom-up approach is no longer helping us. What we should focus is reducing total vehicle kilometers traveled by all motorized modes and reduce dependence on fossil fuel. Ultimately, it should make our Bengaluru more livable. So what we need is a systems approach, not a point-based congestion elevation. We need a network-level systems approach. Now let's do some basic analysis of the Sankey Road and see whether it's really a long-term solution. The IISc suggests, level of service C as a compromise, level of service. Anything above that, it's kind of, not an ideal condition. So if you look at, first option was this two-lane bidirectional flyover on Guttali Main Road and Sankey Road. You can see towards the Palace Road, right from day one, the V/C ratio is more than 1. It's already at the level of service F. So how it is a long-term measure? It's not even a short-term measure. And if you look at the at-grade level, that means below at the ground level, road situation, towards Palace Road, it's already, above level of service F. The situation is going to get worse in no time. Why this analysis has not been done, which is a basic thing to be done and put in DPR? Shivanandar Circle flyover is the best example. For that also we were given rosy picture, but today you can see the spillover effect and the flyover is getting congested already. And of course, how do you address the climate action plan? BBMP itself has prepared this climate action plan. We actually simulated this whole network, and we did the evaluation of queue length at these intersections, delay at these intersections, and the change in the travel time. When the road widening happens, the queue length decreases here, but queue length is increasing here. And the travel time gain is this much. This was earlier, and this is how much. So you get a travel time gain of 0.45 minutes. Okay. Likewise, we did this signal timing improvisation, our own research method. And interestingly, all the junctions, the queue length is actually decreasing just by optimizing the traffic signal timings. Okay? And even the travel time gains, this travel time gain of 5.22 minutes is much higher than the costly widening that the BBMP will do. at no cost, zero cost. Why you are wasting public money? And you see here, again, the queue length is decreasing. This is all just by optimizing the signal timings at those junctions. All these cases, because of the signal optimization, your queue length is actually decreasing. And if you see in the table, yeah, almost all negative values of queue length. That means everywhere the queue length has gone down. This is the signal optimization scenario. Yeah, and if I just show you the comparison of all these scenarios, yeah, underpass, BBMP widening, signal timing, and so on. You see this bar carefully at each of the location. It's lowest in each of these locations. You can see. In some cases, the road widening and flyover, options are actually giving much worse, result. Even in terms of average delay per vehicle. So I ran through it very fast, but I just wanted to give you a perspective of what network level impact it creates. We are fooled actually by saying that there will be a gain and we'll reach to a free flow situation. So at the end, I'm leaving you with the same hypothesis, and you can answer yourself whether these hypotheses are correct or wrong. Thank you.
We are also asking the same question.
So these are the questions that are there. DPR shows only 3 options, all of which include the flyover. Was any input sought or received from DULT, traffic police, general public? Possible solutions to study signal synchronization, traffic diversion via Makery Circle, better public transport, and all the other solutions that have been talked about here, have they been taken into consideration? Any study of composition of traffic at Basham Circle, example, how much of it is through traffic? DPR also shows that north-south traffic is double the east-west traffic. Are these numbers reliable? What are the alternative solutions studied by BBMP? I think we'll start with that.
ಅದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಓದ್ತೀನಿ. Flyovers do not solve traffic congestion, rather than shift the point on traffic off traffic congestion ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. Have anybody traveled from KR Puram to Hebbal flyover? In that, we have a series of flyovers. The travel time, I think everybody must have experienced. So, I do agree, if we don't have a series of flyovers, then we will be stuck, we may pass over. ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು, ಯಾರು I am giving an example and telling you. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಜ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ಟಕಪ್ ಆಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಫ್ಲೈಓವರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋದಾಗ ಸಿಟಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವೈಸ್. ಎರಡನೇದು,
everyone stop guys.
ಎರಡನೇ
We have talked about the traffic situation and the road congestion, but what about the ecological factors? Because we know that that area is densely populated with trees, and then there's Sankey tank. How will that affect?
This is a very good question you are asking. See, we need to strike a balance between ecological concerns and also the transport and the mobility issues. So a sustained development is very important in this factor. So how we have to address, how to balance these ecological factors and the mobility issues. So as we say, we are not only concerned with the one factor of ecology, but also we have to have a larger picture of the congestion being caused in the city due to the overgrowth of population. We cannot we cannot push some people away from Bangalore, or we cannot avoid people buying cars also. But yes, BBMP is coming out with some plans.
By the time it goes to the magic ball, the whole pillar as it is now, with this, and how are you going to take that entire traffic with no, unless you give a relief at magic junction, it is going to be a total flop. Because you are going not to see. In no way entering cross traffic is going to be benefited because of this flyover. I hope you all understand. 3 years.
Will you ask?
Need nodi, we'll have to ask you to leave.
One minute. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಏನು ಮ್ಯಾಜಿಕ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ದಟ್ ಕ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್. ಅದು ನಾವು ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಈಗ ಸ್ಯಾಂಕಿ ಜಂಕ್ಷನಿಂದ ದಾಟದ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕ್ಯೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡನೇದು ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? 2 ವರ್ಷ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ. 2 ವರ್ಷದ ತನಕ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ಟ್ರಾಫಿಕ್ ಡೈವರ್ಷನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಆ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿದೆ, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆನ್ ದಟ್. ಅವರ 2 ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸು ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಗ್ರೀಡ್.
Governments will question and hopefully get the answers from Mr. Prahladha.
See, he is